I'm Lee Spencer. I caught up with David Ragan, and you were one of the victims of what happened in qualifying. How would you look at it going forward as to what changes you might make?
You know, my thought is a race car driver, you want to go out and do the best job that you can to win the race, win the pole, be fast in practice. And I don't think that it's fair in the Premier Motorsports League to depend on other cars. Now, in the race situation, I think that, you know, you're drafting, you have strategy, you're obviously competing against, 39 other cars on the racetrack. But in qualifying, it seems a little silly to me to have to be a certain distance behind one car or have to have another car a certain distance behind you. And those are kind of silly factors that take the professionalism maybe out of it. And so I don't know, maybe our sport has moved on from the old days of single car qualifying. I definitely would agree that this multi-car qualifying in groups is a lot better than one car at the time. At the end of the day, we still have to remember we are an entertainment business, but we do need to keep some of the fundamental things that make stock car racing a professional business as well. So you have to balance each of those. But I would say that heat races would be fine. I think it'd be better for TV, better for the fans, maybe a little more stressful for the drivers and team owners. But I think if you make heat races where you can win a little bit of money, and that determines your starting spot and your pit road selection for Sunday, that makes them important. I think the heat races that NASCAR tried with the Xfinity Series, kind of making it a part of the race, or earlier on the same day, the guys couldn't be as aggressive, and I don't think that was it was a good experiment, but I don't think it was a pass grade. So I would be in favor for doing some kind of a heat races, divide the field in two, much like we do the duels. And sometimes the duels are really exciting, sometimes they're not that exciting, and you're going to have that in every race. But I think that the days of single car qualifying, well, we can't afford to go back to that. So maybe we move on to the next neat thing, and that'd be heat races.
Could you picture maybe 4 heat races, 10 cars each, if we have 10 cars that week, 40-car field? And they've talked a long time about perhaps giving points for qualifying. You mentioned money. Money's a beautiful thing and always an incentive for all of us. But when it comes down to points at the end of the season, that could be something that get these guys up on the wheel, as you said, and avoid what we saw at Bristol a couple years back.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's no more money in the pot to distribute, but points are just like money. You're going to earn a lot of money at the end of the year if you accumulate the most points. And so I think you'd have to have some type of system to reward those guys for being a little more risky. I don't know that 10 cars would be a good show. I think it would be okay to short track, but you can't have 10 cars at California or Michigan, go. So I think you'd need to have maybe 2 heat races with 20 cars. I think that's an option, but again, I know what we can't do, and we can't go back to just single car qualifying.
That is like watching paint dry.
Yeah, that's a step in the wrong direction. So we have to tweak this, but also would be an advocate for no more rules, because we always adjust rules, but there's 40 teams and there's one NASCAR, and the teams can understand and figure out and beat the rules at a faster rate than NASCAR can come up with them, and it's harder to police so many rules. And I think that the simpler the rule book can be, the better it is for everybody.
I think we saw that yesterday, because in the first round of qualifying, there were several questions as to, did that lap that some drivers make count, or was that thrown out because they hadn't gotten to the line when Chase Elliott spun? Then there were other people wondering, well, Chase Elliott spun, he's out there on fresh tires, and with tires wearing off after 2 laps and you losing speed, he had an advantage going out on tires. And I heard one spotter suggest, hey, maybe we should try that next time. So I get where you're coming with the rules, because if there are people who have been in the garage longer than you and I, and they weren't sure of the qualifying rules, then it's kind of crazy.
Well, like I said, there's so many rules. It's hard not only to police them, but it's hard for us to understand. We have to have extra employees on staff just to follow up with the rules and learn how to interpret the rules. And we have so many rules now in a green environment that we're trying to live in. We don't even have a rule book. It's all on the computer. So I think that I think we can clean that up a little bit, but that's not an easy task either.
How does your car look for Sunday's race?
our Ford Mustang was really on the tight side first practice, and we made some really big swings. Here in California, you have limited track time. It takes 4, 5, 6 minutes just to leave the garage, get out onto pit road, and get going. And so when you only have a 50-minute practice, you generally only get 3 runs. And so we made a big swing. We got on the other side of it. We were way too loose to really turn a fast lap, but I feel like there's potential in our car. Our cars, if we can run in the top 15 to top 20, those are good days. We need to capitalize on strategy and capitalize on other people's mistakes. I don't think we're going to have a car that can go out and lead laps and dominate and win a race, but if we can hang onto the lead lap into the top 15, a lot of things can happen toward the end of these races. So I'm optimistic that we can make some adjustments and tweaks for tomorrow. It's going to be warm. It's going to be hot. It should be a great race.
You also, over the radio, mentioned the bumps and how the bumps had a tendency to upset the car. Is that just a product of this track being so worn out?
It is, and that what makes good racetracks in my opinion. It adds some character, and I think for me the ideal groove is going to be that middle to top lane once the pace slows down, but you're going to have to be able to pull to the bottom on these restarts and take the shortest way around the racetrack. And so my car is not bad over the bumps in the middle or that top lane, but when I pull down to the bottom in turns 3 and 4, there's a couple little dips and bumps getting to the bottom, and on the rebound my rear just stays hung out a little too much, and I can't carry enough speed through the center. So that's something we'll have to adjust on, but that's what makes California unique in any track that's got some age and some character, because there's different problems in different parts of the racetrack, and you have to make adjustments, and that's where you have passing, when some guys can go really fast for a few laps, but then they fall off, or guys that can really go great on a long run and they can pass those guys. Anytime you have some disparity amongst the cars, that's when you have close racing on restarts, but you have a little passing later. So hopefully we can be good on both ends.
Forever the optimist, forever the realist. That's why I enjoy talking to you. Appreciate your time, David Ragan.
Yeah, thank you.